Everybody CI. I request everyone to please keep it and we'll give you the next 5 minutes.
हाँ जो बोलेंगे तो उनको तो दूसरी पार्टी तो बीच में बोले तो मीडिएटर फिक्स
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tanisha Shivre and I'm the chairperson for this year's Mediation Bombay. And at the outset, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today for our tri-party finals. We're joined here today by Ms. Kathleen Levy, who will be the professional mediator mediating this finals today, and we're very grateful for her presence. And our panel of judges today are Ms. Catherine Davidson, Mr. Sahil Kanoga, and Mr. Abhileen Chaturvedi. I'm very grateful for them to join us here today and assess and choose our winning negotiating pair today. These top 3 teams have had 2 days of rigorous mediation rounds, and these are the best teams so far today. And I think they've been waiting for the past 2 days for this day. We have been waiting a longer time to hope that, when do we get to see a tri-party final round live? And well, finally the day has come, so we're very excited. So all the best to the teams, and Palash Pamnami here will be the session manager. So if there's anything required, you can obviously address it to him. Ms. Ayushima, Deputy Logistics Head, will be the timekeeper, and any timestamps and any indication of time will be given by her. For the audience, we request you to please keep your phones on silent and to not record or click any photographs of the same. We do have a few members of the organizing committee taking photographs, and it is also being recorded and live streamed, so therefore you can obtain any digital media later on. And I think we can begin when the participants are ready. All the best, and may the best team win.
So before we get started, why don't we just relax for a moment, have a nice round of applause for our training. And I would like our time for you to explain how you're gonna, let us know about it.
So, I have timestamps for 1 hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 15, 10, 5, 1 minute, and time's up. I will be notifying it by one bell and holding up the timestamp for everybody to see. Post which, once we are at the time end, I will be giving a double. I hope everyone is okay with these timestamps, and if you have any instructions, so in case of
And also a description of our coffee sessions, please.
So for the caucus, per negotiating level, we get 7 minutes, but you cannot take caucus in the last 21. According to me. So I will be notifying if we have more time left for the caucus as well.
Thank you very much. Everyone ready? Thank you very much for attending the small three-party mediation. My name is Kathleen Duane Needs, and I'm here today. And I'd like to welcome you. Now that I've introduced myself, let me go ahead and start on my far left. We'll move around this way. May I have your names, how you'd like to be addressed, and what is your role here today?
Thank you, Madam Mediator. Good morning, everyone. I'm Devata, the CEO of Connect Incorporated, and I do possess the relevant decision-making authority with reference to Connect Incorporated at today's mediation session.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Mr. Peter Jain and I'm the legal head of Connect, and I'm a legal advisory capacity and all the decision-making powers vested in me.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Roshni. You may address me as Roshni. My preferred pronouns are she, her, and I'm representing the Mizu community.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Harish, and I'm the Senior Counsel associated with the NGO Samudra Raj.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lakshmi, the Secretary of State for Samudra Desh, and I have the relevant decision-making authority today.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Prerna, and I'm the Advocate General with the State of Samudra Desh. My preferred pronouns are this.
Thank you very much, everyone. Before we get started, I'd like to discuss some business at hand in regards to this mediation. I heard some mention of full authority to make decisions today. And my question is, the mediator, today, do you have full authority without having to consult anyone else? The bell wants to know it.
Apologies. Yes, I do have all the decision-making authority without a consultation with anyone else.
Yes, I do have the full authority to settle without having to consult anyone.
Thank you.
In the same way, I do have the authority to settle independently and arrive at a decision.
Thank you as well. So this mediation session is going to be an hour and a half, starting from about right now. I'm going to mark down the time. And there's a few things that I want to make sure everyone's aware of. Our bathrooms are down the hallway, all the way down the hallway, take a left if you need that. Does everyone have the time allotted to spend here with an hour and a half together? Thank you very much. I also have noticed, and thank you for your mediation documents as well, and I have your agreements signed that you have agreed to mediate once again in this matter. And there's a few things I'd like to ask some questions about, because it's my understanding from the documents that this is a mediation resulting from an agreement that didn't pan out the way that everyone expected that it would. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And I want to just understand with what I'm looking here at the minutes of the previous time together that people spent with the agreement that the Deputy Secretary of State and the representative, are they no longer involved in this situation? In regards to the state and the community areas.
In terms of Secretary of State, this is my predecessor, Mr. Sira. And currently, I am part of the new government, therefore I have full decision-making authority to modify and make amendments to the negotiated agreement we already have.
So this is a new agreement, and this is the predecessor on my document here. Thank you very much. And Mr. Panduram, is he also no longer involved with being representative of the Mizo community?
Yes, he's no longer involved, but he remains within our community.
Thank you very much as well. One more question before we get started. I'm looking at the decisions that were made. And I'm wondering for the Mizo community specifically, the access to government schools, access to government hospital, and being well connected to the city, are those still important issues for your community at this mediation table today?
Yes, I believe they are still important issues.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, with the business of hand being done, let me talk a little bit about the mediation process. The mediation process looks for a win-win for everyone because the mediation process has a spirit of mediation that really wants to see success. And the mediation process wants to know about your individual interests. And the mediation process also wants to know about your collective interests. And the mediation process also works on a document that when you leave the mediation room, effectively is a win-win for everyone as we walk on this document in situations that you're going to be walking into. So this is how I'm going to be asking you to align yourself with the culture of the mediation table, with the spirit of the mediation table that we're looking for a win-win for everyone, please. As we move on, what is this culture of mediation? Mediation is about being voluntary. Everyone can walk away for being a mediator. Secondly, mediation is a highly confidential process where everything is confidential. And then we have these joint sessions where we're together, everything is confidential. And then if we are one-on-one with the mediator, there's an extra layer of confidentiality where I will not be repeating anything that I do not have permission to share. Thirdly, mediation assigns responsibility to myself to be neutral. That means I give 100% of my time to each one of you. And I devote myself 100% of my time to each one of you, both individually and collectively, and also devote myself to that agreement to make sure neutrality is placed in all realms. Lastly, mediation, because of my neutrality, I don't have to make any decisions here today. You are the decision makers, which means you are in control of all the decisions that you make. Please make sure they look like a win-win for you, a win-win for each other. And I do not make any decisions at this meeting today. It is my job to make sure that we have clarity of information, we have accuracy of information, and then I also am making sure that justice has a feeling, so the agreements that you come to feel good as well to under the spirit of mediation. And lastly, to finish up with my introduction, is the process here today at the table. Right now, we're in joint session. And I'm giving my mediator's opening statement. We will be moving on to you giving your opening remarks is what has brought you to this mediation table today. And then we will be moving on to further discussion, setting an agenda. That's not the way that you'd like to go. Further discussion together, further discussion in private caucus, whatever way that you think that you need. I may ask for a caucus. And if you don't think that you want to have a caucus right now, you want to say no, Madam Mediator, we can. So this is about yourselves at the table. You are in control of all the decisions today, and I am in control of the process. All right? Does anyone have any questions about any of that? Okay. As your mediator, to get started now into your opening remarks, I typically have a person who asks for the mediation to go first. So I'd like to switch our routine. We're going to have our government officials go first, and then you said you will go second. And thirdly, your opening remarks as to why are we here today. Keeping in mind that we have a situation that mattered before that didn't work out, so now we're here one more time. See. So thank you very much. So may I have your opening remarks, please?
Thank you, Madam Mediator. I hope I'm clearly audible to everyone in this room. Proceeding then. Firstly, I'd like to come off the bat and apologize to the people of the Mizo community for the violence that has taken place. It's a deeply regretful incident, something that should not have happened, and we think that was something that did not let the situation begin in the way we wanted it. Secondly, I think it's important for us to recognize the person we have sitting here is somebody who has gone through a lot of struggle. Roshni has one of the first persons from our community to be able to access education. something that is secluded and isolated from the people of the Mizo community, something that this government today considers one of its top priorities, to be able to proceed with social mobility, to be able to foster change and be able to promote development, while also ensuring that things like culture, tradition, and traditional values are also respected. Therefore, we think that the government of Samudra Pradesh is here today to demonstrate things like goodwill, demonstrate things like trust. And we understand, however, that these are mere words. I myself have been Secretary of State for over 3 years. I've been deeply involved with various issues concerning the people of the Mizo community themselves. However, I hope to demonstrate over this mediation session throughout the course of this process that these are not mere words. We hope to demonstrate our commitment towards a shared vision of inclusive development while preserving things like culture, preserving things like tradition, because these are also utmost priorities for not only the government of Tamil Pradesh, but also for the people of the Mizo community, who we also represent within the country of Tamil Pradesh. Therefore, moving then to what the background of this mediation session is and what we seek to achieve here. We think it's imperative for us to be able to move forward and foster inclusive development in a manner that is cognizant of concerns, that is cognizant of issues and problems that the people of the Mizo community have, while also being able to sort of emphasize inclusive development and emphasize things like economic development and balance various interests. And that is the kind of approach that we take to this table today. Therefore, we think that cultural and economic interests of local people need to be balanced to achieve an amicable win-win solution, while also prioritizing the needs of the people of Samudra Pradesh, the people of Roshar more generally, as the government of the day would like to do. Moving then to connecting. We think that connecting is a valuable partner in this journey towards connectivity, in this journey towards inclusive development, and it's great to have you on board. We think that it's an efficient way to come with some kind of consensus in terms of figuring out what the way forward looks like. We think that connecting is a valuable partner in this regard, somebody who we want to have to ensure that we get the ideals of inclusive development and the ideals of economic growth out there. Finally, moving on to what we hope to achieve at the end of this 90 minutes. We think that the first and most important thing is to figure out how to ensure that the people of the Mizo community are able to retain their fish, are able to retain things like fishing rights, are able to retain things like access to the sea, which are obviously imperative concerns for them, but also balancing interests such as economic development by ensuring that these concerns are taken care of and accounted for in the government's growth, in the government's strive towards economic growth, and ensure that we truly promote inclusive development and it does not remain merely governmental promises that we all know how governments operate in terms of electoral promises. And we think, therefore, that this is our approach to this mediation session, and we hope that the other parties in this as well approach it with the same vision, with the same good faith considerations that we have. And with that, I'd like to hand over to my task.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Davis, for coming to the mediation table. Thank you, Madam Mediator, for succinctly summarizing the process of mediation. I do not think I would have explained my client anything differently. My role here stands twofold. First, my traditional role, and second, the protection of my client's interests. I think, Madam Mediator, you already stressed upon three facets of my role, namely confidentiality, the fact that my client here is in a completely voluntary ecosystem, and that he has complete authority. But moving on to a very important facet of my role, which is that I am here in a complete advisory capacity. I'm merely here to document the processes and would like to refrain from engaging in complex meetings. Moving then to proceedings just my client, which I think Lakshmi has succinctly summarized. Our essential goal here is to reach a mutually beneficial solution, which would involve the discussion of few things. First, we would like to gain clarity and obtain information about the positions and interests of both parties, and then reconcile these different interests in furtherance of a mutually beneficial solution that fosters inclusive development.
So thank you very much. I'm hearing you both talk, first of all, leading off with the apology for the Mizo community, and that you believe that they should have the access to social mobility, and you're here to demonstrate that goodwill. And you want to make sure that this is not just a meeting of mere words. You're looking for preserving the culture, helping us community move forward. And we were looking for a mutually beneficial solutions to this issue. Is there anything else?
I think just lastly, we would like to add that the state of Andhra Pradesh has been gifted and endowed with one of the longest coastlines. We think that all peoples of Andhra Pradesh can exploit this. We think all peoples of Andhra Pradesh can gain benefits from this and therefore be able to benefit truly in an inclusive sense, simply because the kinds of natural resources that our state is gifted with. And the objective, therefore, today is to ensure that we all walk away having gained from the natural resources, having gained from this wonderful state of Andhra Pradesh together.
So thank you. I heard you say all 4 times. This wonderful state sounds like it deserves its all from where you're coming from. Thank you so much. Please.
Thank you. First and foremost, thank you, Madam Mediator, for creating a safe space to share what is important for all 3 of us to have a clear and transparent dialogue. We believe that we are in your good hands. Thank you also to the state government of Samudra as well as Connect Incorporated, which, if the parties do not mind, I shall hereby refer to as Connect for Ease. Thank you to the both parties for coming to today's mediation session to work together on an agreement that all 3 of us are satisfied with. Now, I believe that all parties coming to the table here today are aware of the disheartening event where our Mizo people are being chased out of our homeland shockingly. We're chased away from the homes that our people have called dearly as homes for generations. And this chasing away came even after our explicit rejection to your demands for us to move. And to me, it is as though the voices of the vulnerable Mizo community are not heard. And this is very saddening. We had clearly expressed our intentions to stay in our homes. This is a simple but significant plea that from our community, yet our simple plea was neglected. And the sense of betrayal our community feels is apparent. To chase us away, and in the process of doing so, our people are injured, not just physically, but emotionally as well. The sea, you see, is our livelihood, our culture, and our identity. Well, sorry, to the state government, we have got to see the way you treat the very people you're meant to protect the interests of. And to connect, we're set to witness your treatment of the market you hope to gain the market share in. And to put it plainly, both the Samudra government and Connect needs the people's support. And this includes support from our community, the Mizo community. Clearly, chasing us away from our homeland is certainly not the best for your public image. And however, we do understand that as what Ms. Lakshmi mentioned. We understand the economic undertones and how parties are keen on improving the nation collectively. However, we believe that a nation can only improve collectively if the interests of the individual communities are well protected of. And in this case, it is as though the voices of our people are not heard. And time again, our rights, our culture has been stripped by successive governments. And our concerns are left unaddressed. We need education, we need jobs, and we need workplace safety. And none of this is worked on, and now we are even chased out of our homeland. That is very, very shocking. Now I'll leave it up to my trusted counsel to share more.
Good morning, everyone. To reintroduce myself, my name is Harish, and I'm with Samudra Rashtra. I'm here today with Roshni, and Roshni is the first girl in the Mizo community to receive formal education, and today she's a lawyer. Roshni is in the best position to understand the needs and the interests of the Mizo community and to stand up for them at today's mediation. I'm here only on a purely advisory role, and prior to the mediation today, I've advised Roshni on the legal aspects of the issues that we will be discussing today. As you may have heard from Roshni herself, the Mizo culture is centered around the fishing tradition. living near the coastal areas has made fishing more accessible to the Mizo community, and thus the community's culture and practices revolve around it. What is more alarming is that the Mizo community has been forcibly evicted out of their homes, resulting in not only physical injuries, but disappointment and lack of sensitivity from the government. As such, for the benefit of Ms. Lakshmi, Ms. Prana, Ms. Devita, and Mr. Tejas, as well as Madam Mediator, a proposed agenda for this session would include 2 points. First, development plans. This is pertaining to the motivations behind the oil drilling project and the specific details of plans that Samudradesh or perhaps Connect would have for us. And by extension, this would also relate to the relocation. The second point would be on the restoration of relationships. This is with regards to Connect having evicted the music community forcibly. We are hoping for them to make amends and for us to mend the relationship. The flurry of the events over the past few months has been exhausting for everyone here today, I believe. From being informed about the oil drilling project to having been forcibly evicted to relocate the coastal areas, I think this mediation is ever more important for us to come together and share perspectives. I'm glad the government of Tamil Pradesh has called for this mediation today, and that is why we are also here to find out more from the parties, iron out the issues that we may have, and reach an amicable solution that would benefit us all. Shall pass time back to Madam Mediator.
So thank you very much. You are grateful that the government has called this mediation, and you're also looking forward to knowing the more from Connect, the details that they have in regard to the fishing, in regard to the being pushed out of your land. There's some very strong words on disheartening event, the rejection of it all, the neglect, the trail, the forcible move, and then unfortunately the injuries that were incurred with that forcible move. And then you need the support of these two people that are here, some of the people that you're here with today, and you're looking for their support, and you want to understand the details of what that support would look like as you promote education and jobs and security within your community. Is that correct?
Yes, and if I may just clarify, the support is a two-way street where they also need our support for their relevant interests.
Thank you. So this is tandem, this is together, this is support, linked together. If so, as a mediator, may I ask you, how was that apology for you that you heard the government issue at the beginning of their opening remarks?
Yes, I believe the apology is very relevant at this point in time, and we are very grateful for the extension of the apology. But as what Ms. Lakshmi mentioned, words remain as words, and we also need to see the actions that can be discussed during the session today before we can, before our community can feel at ease.
So looking for these actions, and I'm going to add the word productive actions to check the culture of your community. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you for waiting. Please, your opening remarks as well.
Thank you, Madam Mediator. Good morning to everyone once again. First of all, thank you, Ms. Mediator, because this is the first time that we are present at a tri-party mediation, and you have made us feel completely at ease that we will be heard no matter how the session goes, and hopefully it will be a very fruitful one. Thank you to the government of Samudra Desh for inviting us to this mediation session, and thank you to the representatives of the Mizo community, Ms. Roshni and Mr. Harsh, for coming here and to air out all the grievances that have occurred between us. At the outset, since they have already mentioned the elephant in the room, we have come here because of the regrettable incident that took place with certain officials of Connect Incorporated forcibly evicting members of the Mizo community from their homes. We would just like to say that this incident has deeply pained us, it is highly regrettable, and we truly are sorry about it. And as Madam Mediator and Ms. Lakshmi have mentioned, we are willing to take actions for it. We have come up with certain productive actions that we will surely ensure that we take towards correcting this decision of ours. No person ever deserves to be treated with force, especially when the situation revolves around their livelihoods and their homes. There were many different ways to go about the situation, and we truly hope that we would have handled it with more sensitivity and used a different approach. Having said all this, it is great to be in the presence of Ms. Roshni, who is a trailblazer in her own right. The first woman to achieve formal education from the community of Mizo. We truly believe that there is no better person to help us understand the adversities and the plights of the Mizo community. We truly believe that you coming here is a great opportunity for every one of us to really understand how deeply our actions have affected the Mizo community and how we can truly express to the community that we sincerely regret whatever happened and we truly want to rebuild our relationship from the ground up. I'm also glad to be in the presence of the government officials, Lakshmi and Prerna. Now, we understand that the past few weeks could not have been easy for you, and we do know that your job is very hard, and that's why we are very glad that you could come down and invite us to this mediation session. Now, Connect Incorporated had already been trying to make inroads into the Rosharan markets, and the report that the government had regarding the oil well provided us with a great opportunity for both the parties. After winning the drilling rights from the tender that was issued by the government, Connect Incorporated was ecstatic. And you could see that in the confidence the investors had in us. The share prices of Connect reached an all-time high. And we were looking forward to becoming the biggest company present in the Roshan market, which would have, of course, provided a plethora of jobs for the Roshan market and especially for Samudra Desh. To be very honest, our company genuinely believed that there was an amicable agreement in place between the government and the Mizo community for the relocation of the Mizo community. It is imperative for us and all our shareholders that all the stakeholders involved in the oil well project are on the same page and there is an agreeable deal in place between everyone. Today, Connecting believes that we can utilize our resources to benefit both the Mizo community and the government of Samudra Desh. And our primary goal here today is to help the government and the community reach a fair and agreeable plan of relocation, with us helping out with any creative solutions that we can offer from our end. We would make sure that all the resources that we have as a world-leading conglomerate are put to use to repair the relationships between all three parties. Now, having given you an outlook on the present situation my company finds itself in, I would like to reiterate that we come here with an open mind and we intend to be completely honest at today's mediation session, and we hope the other parties will be too. We already know that your presence here today already shows that you have come here with a collaborative approach and you're open to amicable solutions. So, having said all that, I would like to hand it over to my legal counsel, Mr. Tejas, to elaborate on what exactly our goals here are today.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. So just to reiterate, my name is Mr. Tejas and I'm the legal counsel. And just to point out, Madam Mediator, in the opening statement, you mentioned that how mediation is a win-win situation. And that was the first time that you mentioned. And we truly believe that, given the sensitivity of the issues regarding the livelihoods, regarding the homelands, we believe that this would have been the best place to solve all these issues because there are alternative methods. We all know that there are legal ways to go about it. And I'm sure all the councillors have addressed them to their clients. But their willingness to come here shows that we want to do more than just for our clients, come here and collaborate and see that there is progress on all sides. Essentially, as connecting, my role as connecting, we do believe that I would be advising my client on the legal and technicalities. However, I've asked him to keep all that aside and maybe we can, and he encouraged that we should talk about the most sensitive issues and how we can address them. And as a mission of connecting, we do want to see how both the parties can come to a more amicable understanding regarding the relocation. Before that, as Ma'am mentioned, that we were really excited about the new venture that the government was entering into with connecting. And given that it was a long-term tender, around 10 years, we of course had a lot of investments in that too. So of course we were really excited, looking forward to it. However, no such steps would be as important or the cost should not be at the community that lies there, that is the Mizo community. So we understand that when we go forward with this, we do hope that there is a strong understanding both the parties and how no one's rights are affected in that manner. Coming to the unfortunate event that happened, where connecting played a part to it, as ma'am had mentioned that as I mentioned that we are extremely unfortunate about the situation, and we have taken it into consideration, and we're going to take steps, because it's not just about how people are treated, it's just about how there are certain things that it should not happen away, and we want to look for alternative methods for that. So we just want to assure you, given anything, we are taking strict actions, and of course, we are willing to discuss all of that, and that is our priority today, to make amends. And as you said, we live in the relations, so that is our number one priority today. Also, additionally, the government mentioned that they want to address the long-standing needs of the Mizo community regarding education, healthcare, etc. And I believe we find ourselves on the same footing on that. We do want to put out some innovative ideas and have some collaboration with the government if that if there will be so. So essentially, just to sum it up, I think the points of discussion that we would like to talk about today as a priority would be, of course, making amends and talking about the incident that happened and understanding what all can we provide you to the best of our capabilities to help you resolve that. Additionally, we do want to understand and have a better position on what is the position of both the parties regarding the relocation, as being a third party to the agreement, we were not sure about how the details stand out, and I understand that caused some grievances to all the parties here. So we do want some understanding to that part. And coming to all these issues, we do want to discuss about the tender deal that government and tender and connecting tender into. So to sum it up, those will be the points of discussion, and we would love to hear whatever thoughts about the parties. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm hearing that you are the third party here, and you're glad to finally be able to sit down and explore your relationship with the government, explore your relationship with the Mizo community as well. And again, acknowledging the regret, I'll use my word regret, of this extreme forcible removal of people from their homes. So the Mizo community are actually bookended by apologies right now. As the mediator, I thank you both for that. And you're looking to make sure that all the stakeholders are on the same page. Let's do this together. I'm hearing the theme again, together, better together. I'll just paraphrase. And in addition, you want to deal with those sensitive issues. You want to understand, and the long-term understanding as well. And you also want to make amends.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Is that right?
Just for an addition, in conjunction to all these discussions, we do want to talk about the tender deal that we have entered into with the government. Of course, that can take last priority, but we want to talk about it as it's conjunction.
So with winning those drilling rights, I'm
Yes.
okay, you want to understand more about that and this relationship of the tender that you're going to have with the government. Okay. Everyone, thank you very much for your opening statements. Let's move forward into an agenda, a working agenda that we can utilize to begin having good discussion. So I'm going to ask you all to do some work at your paper right now. Come up with two or three pointed agenda items. I've heard many good things, and they ensure ability to retain rights, positions of interest of all, details of relocation, restoration of relationships, sensitive issues, making amends. So please spend some time coming up with 3 agenda items, and we'll talk about them out loud, and I will put them down on my agenda paper as well, and then we'll discuss the points of what we want to discuss first.
if you could begin, Madam Mediator, with some sentences. Or
That's okay. Thank you. Okay, I'll see what everyone has done now. Go ahead.
Just to go ahead and echo what Roshni said in her piece on what generally they would like to discuss. We think that we're largely in agreement with them in terms of firstly being able to understand what the development in the area currently looks like, and then figuring out what the relocation plans, how they will plan, how they will pan out for the people of the needs of the community. After that, I think it's important for us to discuss also the future of the needs of the community and how we want to go about seeking benefits such as education, so on and so forth, post relocation, hopefully. And then finally, also to address it, as they have recently put in their opening statement, to address how their interests are taken care of and how the future in terms of the oil well that we recently discovered would be proceeded on, especially considering the interest, vital interests of the needs of people also interconnected. I think just to add on, if Prerna has something.
And I think as part of this, the totality of this discussion, the government does have in mind a proposed deal that encompasses the interests of as Roshni pointed out, two primary interests of the region people are, which you set out in your agenda, are developmental plans as well as restoration provisions. And we do have a proposed deal that encompasses both, while also encompassing the interests of Connect in that is to make amends to the actions and want to make inroads into the market, considering that when its tender was accepted, you did mention your share price and all that.
Okay, so I think that was 5 agenda items, correct? Approximately. I'm hearing the development of the area, the future of the Miso community, the relocation plans. Also Connect, what's really going on with the oil lining, what are their thoughts and what are we really doing here? And then I heard the restoration of the relationship. Is that correct? Thank you very much. Moving over, please.
So as what we have heard so far, we're hearing a lot about wanting us to relocate. So from my end, this is our home. So what I hope to hear is their motivation as well as why do we want us to relocate? What are you going to do with the place we call the Arina's home? And that would come to talking about discussing the details of the relocation. The second would be making amends, and this was being discussed by Connect. So I'll let my counsel wrap up.
Yes, so I would just like to add on, earlier we have heard from Samudradesh as well as Connect. For Samudradesh, they've mentioned that economic concerns are of utmost importance to them, and that for Connect, they would like for the Connect their tender with the government to go through. And as such, we find that this would be relevant to the relocation point that we would like to have, and this would aid us all in deciding the details of the relocation and how this all drilling project should go through. And second, I think Connect, Mr. Tejas, as well as Samudradesh were very sincere with their apologies and about making amends. And as such, for us, we would also like to include a point in our agenda with regards to mending the relationship.
Okay, so thank you. So again, mending the relationship. Correct. We have it as well. We have some similar agenda items, making the amends and why the relocation. Not just relocation, but why it's relocation. From both ends, why for you and why for you. Thank you so much. And lastly, but not leastly, Connect.
Thank you, Madam Mediator. I believe that our points of agenda are also largely in consonance with both the other parties. The only difference is, firstly, we would like to just address the past issue first, which is make immediate amends for the incident of eviction that took place. Other than that, we are in consonance with the items of agenda. We would like to assist in the relocation discussions in any way that we can. We were also looking for clarifications, as my counsel had pointed out, clarifications about where exactly the Mizo community is going to be relocated, what was the kind of consensus between the parties, and what exactly will be the future for the community. Thirdly, we're cognizant of the fact that the Mizo community did mention that they would love to rebuild this relationship, and we would also like to discuss some long-term solutions to actually rebuild our relationship. It would include a number of factors that my council might like to add upon. We were thinking of a number of things that we could offer relating from education to other activities. Lastly, as as the government of Samudra Desh mentioned, we would also like to discuss the oil drilling rights because we see that economic considerations and economic development of Samudra Desh is a priority for them. So contingent on having reached a consensus on the drilling, on the relocation deal, you would be willing to discuss this tender that was accepted by the government. Is there anything you would like to add?
All right. So we have agreement on development in the area. So let's go ahead and break down our agenda. Thank you for all these wonderful ideas to steer this mediation forward. I'm seeing development of the area, which connects with, correct me if I'm wrong, with the oil rights. So I'm making a subcategory of oil rights and what's going on, all of that. So I'm going to cross that off, development and oil rights. I heard relations moving forward, long-term relationships. Everyone agrees with relationships as an agenda. Thank you so much. Bless you, whoever did that. Thank you for having a high interest in preserving your relationships. Our mediation table really appreciates that. And that's the future of the MISO community. The relocation is being discussed, but the why is not just the relocation as well. So I'm going to put relocation and why. I think we've heard a little bit of the why, but I think it needs further explanation. Thank you. Making amends for this forcible evacuation. Unfortunately, people were injured, which I'm sure was no one's intention. I'm sure everyone realizes that is not what we wanted to see happen as well. I'm going to cross it off, amending again, connect with the online and we've got that, restoration of relationships. Yeah. It seems like we have 4 agenda items: development area, what does that look like, the oil rights, etc., relationships moving forward, MISO community with both the government and connect, relocation, why of it, and maybe the where of it as well, although I see on your first meeting that you have a location 100 kilometers from the city that seemed to be approved at the time, but we'll see if that's something. So, where I'm going to put on my agenda list as well, please. And then making amends. As a mediator, I really enjoy looking at the breadth and width of this agenda, and I think you all for it. So let's find out. We'd like to talk about what seems the most important thing. We need to pick our order of speaking about this agenda. Thank you for it. So let's weigh in right now, please.
Just to begin, I think it's important and imperative for us to first address the vital issue of them having to leave on their homes, considering the fact that this deals integrally with the lives of the individual people, something that this government considers one of its top interests and top priorities. And therefore, that should probably be the first thing that we discuss today.
Thank you very much. So I got a 1 star. Thank you for the 1 star. Next agenda item number 3. Yourselves?
So I think for us, we will be talking about similarly the relocation, because I think that the relocation is the underlying concept that would undertone the development, the long-term relationship, and of course the mending of relationship in the future. So from our end, we would also like to talk about the relocation of the music community.
Thank you so much. 2 stars for relocation. Yourselves, what do you see as number 1?
As we have previously mentioned, we would like to address the amends that we could make to the music community about the eviction incident first. However, we do see that both the parties do prioritize the relocation issue, and of course, that is also a priority for us. So we would be open to discussing the relocation issue first, as we would also like some clarification on what exactly the situation is.
Thank you very much. So we're going to make the relocation the first thing that we talk about. We're going to make your interest in amends number 2. And what does everyone see as us talking about the last 3? Development of the area and oil rights, and also the relationships moving forward in the future. Which one do you see as last, please?
I think it's important for us to be able to discuss the future of the music community towards the conclusion of our session, since this will involve the way forward once we hopefully settled on what we're going to do in status quo, and then discuss long-term solutions, potential further collaborations, let's say with Connect, need for instance.
So let's achieve these building blocks and stepping stones first, and then we'll talk about the long term. See this last yourself, what you see might be the last thing that we discuss here today? Not spending too much time on the agenda.
May I just clarify, I see that the first point is relocation. Is there a second point that's missing?
Yes, apologies. Yes, I took the number one of making amends and made it as the mediator at the table into our number two agenda item.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I think from our end, it would be the development of the area because we understand that there will be underlying oil rights discussion. From our end, yes, the oil rights are important, but what we see is that we need to make sure the future of this, so this project will definitely happen in a way if we were to talk about the oil rights. So if this project were to go through, are all the stakeholders being taken care of before we talk about who this right belongs to?
Okay, thank you. And yourself, what do you see as the last agenda item?
You also agree that development in the area, especially talking about the tender of the oil drilling rights, should come third on the agenda so that we can talk about the future of the location itself.
Should come third.
Yes.
Right, all right, on our agenda. So thank you. At this stage, I just want to thank you for the progress that we've made. Thank you for the movement. The mediation table does need movement, and we are moving very well. So thank you so much for it. So let's begin discussion. Let's open it up. Relocation, why, where, etc. I'd like actually for the you decide what you'd like to talk about first, or yourselves might be first in regard to the location of your community.
I think from our end, before we can understand what can be offered from both parties, there's a need to understand why and what are you doing, or what are you intending to do with our homeland. So that is understanding your interests, and I think my household has read on.
Yes, so perhaps I'll just ask some clarifying questions to both the government as well as Connect. Do you see any timeline for this project, oil drilling project, and perhaps what are some of the promises that you can make with regards to this oil drilling project in exchange for having our community space?
You're asking about a timeline.
Just briefly to address timelines first off the bat, it will be a 10-year long-term timeline in terms of the oil drilling project. But more importantly, I think the fundamental question, which is why this specific area? It's important for us to understand that the state of Tamil Pradesh is going through financial turmoil. As a government, it becomes imperative on us to be able to balance various interests, but also ensuring that stakeholders, especially tribal communities, are accounted for in this process. And therefore, we believe that the only possible way for us to go ahead and achieve the kinds of financial development, inclusive development that has benefits to all stakeholders involved would be to go ahead and use these newly discovered oil resources of the coast where the Mizo community is currently residing. And therefore, it became impossible for us to go ahead and do anything alternative to that. And therefore, we had to go ahead and use that particular area to be able to establish offshore oil reserves, to be able to establish drilling equipment, so on and so forth, which we know takes up a large amount of infrastructural capability, land resources, and things like that, which is why we had to go ahead and evict the people out of this.
Thank you for the clarification. I hear you on your interest being that there's financial turmoil within the state, and therefore, with this newly discovered oil rig near where we call as home, you need to, in your words, evict us, your very people. Thank you for the clarification on your interest. Perhaps posing the same question to Connect, what do you intend to do with our homeland?
Right. So first of all, to answer the council's question about the timeline, of course, we would like the project to move as soon as possible. However, we never intend for it to be hasty. What we mean by that is that all necessary steps and all concerns of the Mizo community have to be addressed. As the government mentioned, this is a contract that gives us drilling rights for 10 years, and we're hoping that the relationship continues and we have extensions of this right. However, we do realize that as a publicly traded conglomerate, we have a public image to maintain, we need to make sure that the Roshan public, a market that we are trying to enter into, has complete and utmost confidence in us. So we would like to enter as soon as possible. We would like for amiable relocation of the Mizo community as soon as possible, but that does not mean that it will be hasty in any way. As long as it takes to address all your concerns is the timeline that we can give you. And regarding the interest, I think my counsel would like to add something.
Right, just to add on to that very briefly, we also want to just get an understanding of that there was a previous agreement. We just want to understand what went wrong. So coming forward with this new project, if we take it into our hands, we understand that there are certain steps that we might need to take into measure so that we do not take those steps again and avoid a disagreement in the future point. So we do want to hear from both the parties. If there are any differences on those opinions and that anything will connect it on their part should take into their mind for that.
Just right off the bat, it's important for us to understand that the previous government was the one who entered into this agreement. And therefore, it would be great for us to hear from the Mizo community themselves, firstly, what they thought of the previous agreement that was signed with their community representative, because we all know that a large amount of sentiment was to be felt that this representative was not truly acting in the interest of the people. He was pressured, so on and so forth. So maybe if we could get some clarity on that, that would be wonderful.
So I'm going to ask, would you see the value in the clarity and that question about the past? Okay.
Yes, so as the government has rightfully pointed out previously, while making the previous agreement, this was made with Mr. Panduram, who was our community representative. At that point in time, we could say the government was sort of pressuring us into letting them come into our land, to using it as the oil drilling site. So that was made quite hasty. But now we definitely have different concerns that we would like to have, different proposals, and I think you would like to share more about that.
Definitely. So if I may address, at this point in time, there's also another underlying right that is not being, underlying concern of the people that is not being answered. You know, I've heard from both of you, you understand my background. I'm the first educator, first girl in my community to receive formal education. Rightly so, there are a lot of issues regarding a lack of education in my community, and that is also a concern that we have when we be it at this current site or the relocated site. So this ties into the fact that there's a low literacy rate, which resulted in our representatives perhaps entering into agreements without fully consulting the rest of the community. So on that note, I hear that both parties are keen on our relocation because of the resources near our site. And before I can give you a straight up yes or no, can we relocate? I think it is very important that we understand following relocation, what will happen. So perhaps I may just share some of my interests. From our end, we are willing to relocate on two conditions. The first is that the relocated site is near the coast, it's close to the coast. And second, we believe that this entire relocation process would incur charges on us and loss of livelihood in the interim period, and therefore we seek a $150,000 financial compensation per person. And as well as going back to my point about the low literacy rate in my community, we will also have this requirement that the relocated site has easy access to schools, to workforces, and I've said a lot, so I will let my legal counsel summarize.
Yes, so maybe I'll just put across what Roshni has mentioned. For the relocation purposes, we would like to have our land close to the coast. That's the first item. We would like to have financial compensation of 150,000 per resident that was affected, as well as having educational facilities and easy access to schools on the new relocated land.
So thank you for that offer. I'm clearly hearing that you are saying yes to relocation with three ifs. Number one, near the coast. Number two, 150,000 per person. So I'm be asking with your mediator how many people are involved with that 150,000 per person. And then thirdly, easy access to schools. So quickly, do we have an answer at least a general answer to the how many people would this 150,000 be involved and what does the math look like for that?
Yes, so on our end, we're still accounting for the number of people who will be affected, and as well as the fact that the scale of the relocation. We understand that there might be some of us who might not want to relocate and etc. etc. We need to get on the ground sentiments from the people. So as of now, I'm unable to give you a specific number, unfortunately, because we need to consult our people to understand.
All right, so you need to find out how many people are even willing to relocate, but you still sound on a number.
Yes, if I may just add on, in so doing, understanding whether they want to relocate, we need to hear from the people about the government about the relocated sites, as well as all of this that is being discussed will have to be disclosed to our community if that's all right on all parties, so that we can understand, so that they can understand what is in the deal for them before they can make a full decision. Yes.
So right now, I'm understanding as your mediator, you want to propose this to the community, which makes a lot of sense. So you have stakeholders involved that are beyond what your capacity is here. So it sounds like you have a second mediation coming up as well for this. So thank you for that. So yes, let's have a response to this, please.
Just a small clarification with respect to the amount of 150,000. Would this be over and above the 50,000 proposed in the last meeting, or would the amount change from 50,000 to 150,000?
So if I may clarify, your question here is that why is there a jump between the 50,000 to the 150,000?
No, not exactly. What I'm hearing from the mediator is that originally it was 50,000, so it's 150,000 include the 50,000.
Maybe we could also get reasons and some more clarity on how you arrived at this number. That would also help your this process along more efficient.
Okay, thank you so much for the clarification, both from the Samudranesh party as well as the Madam Mediator. From our end, we believe that the $50,000 as previously agreed was not yet paid. So we are setting aside all of this agreement, starting a new deal. So this would just entail 150,000 per person. And that is with no regards to the previously agreed terms. Regarding the justification or some perhaps reasons as to why we need 150,000. You see, our people are relocating from their homes, and this is a site that we have held for 15 years and more. And this is a site where we have set up our livelihoods, our homes, our families. Moving them from one location to another may seem like just a movement on the map, but that is more than just a movement on the map. That is people being involved, families being moved, livelihoods being affected. And in this interim period, we need to ensure that our people have roof over their head, have food on their table. And that is where we need this $150,000, if that answers your question. So perhaps we may also ask a clarifying question that my legal counsel has about the site of relocation.
Yes, at this current moment, perhaps I would also just like to ask the government of Samudranesh. So what are the proposed sites that you may have for the relocation? I believe that we do have a map that was provided to us. And is there a location that you're looking at?
I think firstly it would be important for us to circulate this the proposal for relocation.
And fairness for the
Yeah.
other side. You have one more copy as well?
Yes.
So much. One for me?
Yes.
That's the name of the
I think off the bat, it's firstly wonderful to hear that community is okay with relocating, subject to getting certain assurances from the government in terms of facilitating the development of the Mizo people, something of a shared concern between both the government and the community. We're open to moving the community to a coastal region. We think that it's imperative that the community continue to access the coast, considering the cultural significance. Also, furthermore, the livelihoods that they can access through a coastal region. We think that this is not possible under the previous site, and therefore we amended it to allow to move them and relocate them to a more favorable location along the coast. Secondly, then on amends in terms of compensation. We also think that it is required to be able to compensate the people of the Mizo community for the hardships they have faced, in the hardships that they're going to face in terms of relocation. We understand that there's a lot of emotional, physical, and financial distress, and therefore we want to compensate the people. However, we also think consequently that the new site will have access to livelihoods far in expansion to what was available before. We think that's because of greater connectivity towards the city. It's going to be closer to more avenues of social development and economic development, which means that livelihoods are now going to only expand and people are going to be able to earn more and be able to provide better for themselves. Thirdly, on the aspect of schools and other governmental facilities, we can assure you that the new site we have proposed will have the finest, top quality public sector health infrastructure, public sector education for both primary and higher schools, and also be able to provide for the people of the Mizo community in consultation as well of their needs. And therefore, I think I can give it to my council to sort of summarize the entire proposal, since a lot has been said over by the person.
Thank you, Darshan. So for the purposes of the maps that we have surveyed, the proposed site of relocation is site 2. Am I with you? So considering that site 2 is off the coast, which is one of the requirements which is one of the positions that music community has, I think Lakshmi has also clarified that this proposed site will have the best quality infrastructure in terms of not just schools, colleges, but also jobs, which would provide great livelihood opportunity to the music community.
It's also imperative for us to highlight at this moment that there's a new developmental project in this new proposed site. And this developmental project is going to only result again in an expansion of livelihoods for the people of the music community, something that we think we all look forward to together, and therefore maybe we can address all of this.
Thank you so much for sharing and for circulating this map. At this point in time, I hear Ms. Lakshmi on the fact that I think site 2 is more favorable than the current location as well as the proposed site 1. From what I'm seeing from the map, I see that it is also noted out that Jaluka, which is the capital of the city, is also noted, and site 2 is considerably further away from the capital. And this capital is where I believe a lot of commercial is being concentrated around. Now that the new site 2 is considerably further away, how would you see that this can be, in your words, more favorable for our community?
I think firstly, in terms of connectivity, scheme of connectivity has been a part of our inclusive development agenda, and we strive to promote this connectivity and therefore ensure that the people of the music community are connected much better to the inlands, to the capital city. In furtherance of this developmental project that is going to be built is also along the lines of boosting connectivity and boosting inclusive development, and therefore it's going to have great benefits for the people of the music community, even though the city of Jalbihar is now a little farther than it was before. We think that we're going to be able to proactively ensure that the people of the music community access these benefits, something that hasn't been able to be done by governments in the past, and we think therefore it's far better forward.
Thank you so much. I think a lot has been shared. Maybe have Madam Mediator help us perhaps summarize what has been shared so far.
Yes, and thank you for the offer, and thank you for the map as well. I think what we have here is, I see that this site 2 is near the coast. That is easy to see, gentlemen. What is not easy to see is the access that you were talking about. So as you look at the map, you're like, oh, the capital's down here and we're way over there. So the distance away from the capital would be important to know. So as a mediator, I'm thinking that a cross section of the available services in site 2, where are the schools, where are the restaurants, where's Starbucks? Where is everything located that you're talking about? Because on this map, it is not clear. So with that seemingly site mediation that I hope that we're all happy to be scheduling, we need to have a cross section, like a Google map. You know, when I'm looking for Starbucks, what else is there as well? So I think that would answer the questions that you have. Where are all the services? Because right now it looks like, when you look at site one on this map, 100 kilometers, we know. This looks like it's maybe double or maybe 1.5 times the way as well. So what's there is what I'm hearing you say. So I think I'm going to request that for a second mediation. Also requesting your discussion with everyone that wants to move, but we still need information where we're moving to. So I think that is what is needed here, is what I'm hearing as far as the meeting.
Yes, thank you so much for the summary. As what Madam Mediator has mentioned, we shall disclose this information to our community. Of course, if all the parties here are willing to, and we will seek their inputs on this proposed site as well. Now that we understand that the proposed site too is close to the coast, perhaps maybe ask the Tamil Pradesh government on your opinions about our proposal of the 150,000 compensation per person for whoever is affected.
We think this can be done by involving Connect as well. We think that the compensation amount would also include loss of livelihood. We think we can better provide for longer term solutions to provide for loss of livelihood instead of providing monetary compensation. And therefore, we'd like to hear Connect in terms of compensating for loss of livelihood if they have any ideas at this juncture.
First, let me point out that this frees up the area of the drilling that you have contract with the city to do. So let's make that clear. You see that as well? All right, thank you. And please ask the question on the table.
Thank you, Ms. Prerna, for taking into account what we can offer as well. Hearing the offers that were put forward by the parties, I do believe that Connect can step in and provide certain solutions which might help the parties reach a amiable solution to this. We saw, Ms. Roshni, that you prioritize the low literacy rate that is prevailing in your community and you do want to eradicate it. And if we were to take steps against it, that would also help take care and secure the future and the livelihoods of future generations of your community. So we want to make sure that we offer you a scholarship for all the people from your community who want to pursue higher education. We have seen that the government of Samudra Desh has already promised the best quality schools to be accessible by the community at the relocated site. We want to make sure that all levels of higher education are open to you. These scholarships will be full tuition scholarships, so you do not have to worry about the children of the Mizo community growing up and not having avenues of livelihood available to them. Secondly, we also want to reiterate that this scholarship, we resonate deeply with how important education is. So we do not want to make it contingent on any relocation. As you mentioned, that is the condition for your relocation. We want to assure you that irrespective of the fact whether you are relocated or not, we would be willing to offer these full tuition scholarships to the children of the Mizo community. Secondly, with regards to livelihood, we realize that the government wants to provide avenues of livelihood as well. Here, we cannot make any concrete promises, but however, contingent on how the discussions for the oil wells go, we are also willing to take advantage of the elite skills of the fishermen of the Mizo community and incorporate them into our action and employ them for navigating the turbulent waters offshore. However, of course, we cannot make any concrete promises in regards to this. And my counsel would just like to summarize and probably add a few points to this.
Sorry about that again. Just to talk about the livelihoods that you are mentioning, I think the number was proposed was around 1.50, if I'm not wrong, 1,50,000.
150,000 dollars.
So just to talk about the understanding of what we plan to use the land for as well as we mentioned for oil wells and oil mining as well. One of the few, the nature of the job being so tenuous, it requires very strong men skill in these waters, and I think that is where the Mizo community will come out and help us with that. And we plan to recruit
people from your community, they will come and help us, obviously contribute to how the community perceives the education. So, given the nature of the job, that is to navigate these tough waters, we believe that this could be an excellent solution for both the parties, which could help discuss the issue for the loss of livelihoods. And additionally, we do understand that we spoke a lot about the previous agreement that had come between the parties. However, because Connect Inc. was under the impression that these were amicable discussions and there was no bad promises made on either side of the parties. We saw that we had to take few steps, which of course we are willing to discuss in future rounds as well. We understand that it would be really beneficial for us if the community could help us out and just give us their perspective out in the media to put out a statement that Connect Inc. as a party did not have any relations in that specific agreement, and it would because we've seen that this caused damage to Connect Inc. as well. We just wanted to put it out there.
Sure. At this point, as I've been chiming for a while, I hear a lot of offers being put on place. Perhaps if we may call for a private caucus with the Madam Mediator at this point to share a little bit more, and we'll put aside the offers until we hear your interest before we can discuss it.
Maybe just before that, one crucial observation, just to answer your question, and then we can move into the powers. Which was,
Yeah, for a second,
All right.
you want the process right now, or do you want to answer my question first?
I think in the interest of time, we'll ask for a caucus now.
So I'm gonna ask you to put that question on hold. I'm gonna ask both of you to go ahead and leave the room. It will be about 7 minutes, so thank you. So this is your private caucus, where there's actually a confidentiality, where I won't share anything that you don't want me to share. I would like to use this caucus. Perhaps at this time, I guess the people from Connect have actually mentioned that they wanted a statement to the media. So maybe we'll share with you a bit about the current situation as to why this would be difficult for us. You see, previously they've been possibly evicted, and this was a pretty big scandal. So we've been receiving support from the media, and this is very important for us. But the houses seem to be losing interest in this whole entire saga over a period of time. So it's very urgent for us that we get the time. We have to use time wisely and to how we can not let this saga die down. And perhaps it's difficult for us to also issue the statement because it doesn't look very better for us to garner support as well.
I think primarily we want time sensitivity. As my counsel mentioned, I told her previously we need media support because to both parties, they care a lot about their public image. And to us, we are a very small community compared to the both of them. One is a conglomerate, one is a government. So how can we stand ourselves against them to protect our interests through using the power of media? And that's where the time sensitivity comes in. And also, the reason why we called for a caucus is perhaps shed more light. Previously, I hear the client from Connect mention about how our people can help with the navigation. As we all know, climate change is a huge problem lately. The changing climate conditions has made the water very choppy lately, and it's a lot more dangerous, and we have lost a lot of lives because of that. In fact, death rate increased from 5 deaths in a period of 10 years to 7 deaths in just 2023 alone. And we have 3 more months till the end of 2023. It's very concerning for some small community like us. So perhaps it is a bit difficult if we were to engage them, if they were to engage us in navigation of the sea without first securing safety in the fishing culture, which was also which was also the reason why I brought up workplace safety in my opening statement with sharing with the both parties in that workplace in this case refers to the sea for us fishermen, and we need safety in our workplace. And we were actually thinking about, we were going to suggest to Connect actually about how we wanted to, how we hope to, that they are a conglomerate with a lot of technology. So perhaps we can tap on those resources and improve the safety before we can go ahead with working with them on the navigation of the sea. Because right now, actually, truth to be told, there's something we perhaps do not really want to share with both parties as well. This mixed information I can share is that a lot of our people are actually moving away from fishing because of the safety concerns. So as much as the ocean is a huge part of our identity, fishing as an occupation might be a concern if safety is not guaranteed.
Okay, so thank you for sharing both of those. Just let me ask some questions. Do you think that Connect has the ability, because of who they are, where their largesse and their money and their success, to provide, we're talking about employment and defense, do you think they have the ability to provide safety conditions that the community could not provide? Funding.
I believe they have this ability twofold. First is the financial ability to employ us because they are a conglomerate. The second is that we understand that they are involved in the automobile sector as well. And that can by extension perhaps go into the maritime sector where they can improve the technology of our boats, the technology of the engines. Perhaps I'm not too sure about the technicalities. After all, I'm a trained lawyer and not a fisherman. But when it comes to this, perhaps maybe they will know how to improve the technology of the engines, etc.
Yeah, so if they would, then by the way, that automobile contract being negotiated, it's jump through or decided on doing that. So, yes, they would, you can ask questions and get answers to ensure the safety of the people, and obviously see they have the monies to be able to do it, right? So that would be basically your questions with their answers, and then you can decide for yourself, and your people can decide for themselves if that's safe enough to come in forward. And go back to the sea in a different kind of way, is what I'm hearing. But no more casualties.
Yes, definitely.
All right. With the public statement, they're asking for, tell everybody that we didn't do it, this is what I'm hearing. So there's other ways to put out public statements, like a joint venture, exciting partnerships. So you don't have to just focus on their not. You can ask if they want to do a opposite of not, which is a together statement, which then sends the message that we work together, which eliminates the not. So you have to think about how that works. Public statements, although they say in Hollywood, every public knows bad news is still good news, but I don't believe that. Yeah. But so if you think you could turn it around and keep your immediate momentum up, would be the questions that you need to ask. So.
Yes, definitely. I think the council.
Yeah, and Roshni, I think these are really good suggestions for men and media.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the issue, right? Yes. I'm not making suggestions, I'm just talking about the public information out there and how you can keep the media momentum that I heard you say. So think about it just broadly. What are the things that you excuse me, just think about it in broadly. So that they come back, think about how you want to present things.
So would you like to
I'm not even a town, I take it in my hand.
So would you like to present the options later?
Definitely. I think at the end, after this caucus, perhaps we would wish that we can share what we have shared with you so far to the whole party.
You feel comfortable trying on?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think we can invite the rest back.
Thank you for waiting for us to conclude our session. And we discussed some information that the community would like to now share with everyone. And then we can move over to your questions as well that you so graciously paused on. Thank you.
Thank you, Rufa. Thank you so much, both parties. I think we hear you on that first connect about
your intention for us to work together. I also hear you on the public statement that, actually, what we were thinking was, I think this was thrown out by, the government of South Pradesh as well. Actions speak louder than words. And on that note, perhaps more than just a public statement, we put aside that public statement, we have a partnership between both parties. And that would dispel public, potential public assumption that we are on, not so good terms. But of course, that does not set aside the financial compensation, just to be clear. But what we propose here is that you see, we understand that there's an ongoing negotiation by Connect in the automobile industry. And you see, as fishermen, we also engage actively with engines, with vehicles in the form of boats. And you see, now the weather, we all know the weather is hectic now, there's climate change. And what we propose is perhaps we can work together with Connect. The details can be ironed out, but the broad idea in the interest of time is that we can come up with a better engine to predict the weather in a better manner as well as come up with better technology such that we can ensure the safety of the fishermen. And how does it sound?
Thank you for that very generous offer. Of course, we would love to have a partnership with the Mizo community. We would love to build a long-standing relationship, and hopefully this could be the start of something new. We would like some more details about what exactly your means regarding the automobiles would be. However, our subsidiary is one of the most innovative automobile companies in the market right now, and we are sure that whatever kind of needs you want, we would be able to provide them to you. In addition, I would just like to clarify that the offer of the scholarships, the education scholarships to the children of Mizu is something that is acceptable to you.
I think perhaps I have this concern about the bond. Is there, I understand a lot of scholarships have a attached condition. After I give you money for how many years to complete your education, you need to work with XXX industry for how long. Is that something that is also applicable here?
So there will be no strings attached to the scholarship, or we will pay the entire tuition fees, and there would not be any stipulation that you have to work with any of our subsidiaries.
That's very reassuring. I think we can work out the details of this no strings attached scholarship on a later day. We are very excited for that.
Good chill. I just add on to what both parties here said. I think it's wonderful that it's coming to some kind of agreement. But just to add on to the new side, the benefits of the new side, and then steer back, bring it back to the idea of compensation, so we can come to some kind of agreement on that as well. We think that this new site is going to have new beginnings. The reasons for that is that the capital city is also densely populated. Fishing is largely is harder to access, and therefore the people of the Mizo community would struggle to access these kinds of resources. However, in this new site, we propose to have exclusive reserve fishing zones, things that we think are in the greater interest of the people of the Mizo community. They'll be able to access ports, harbors situated nearby, and therefore advance their interests in terms of production, distribution, and things like that of fishing. But secondly, also on Avon and on Connect, we think that it's great that they're working together with the Mizo people to be able to provide them tangible benefits. And we think that this would largely cover things like livelihood, so on and so forth. In light of all of this, we think that the government is amenable to providing compensation. It's also important for us to highlight at this juncture that we would bear all and any costs of relocation, which would be substantial, we understand, and therefore those costs would not have to be borne by the people of the Mizo community. But secondly, on Avon as well, we think that we are able to offer you special concessions for Avon to set up transport, or to set up their distribution and the factories for production in Site 1 itself. And therefore be able to harness these benefits of ports, of harbors, things like that, closer to the coast, considering it's only 100 kilometers away, and therefore it will be economically beneficial for you, considering you also have your offshore oil drilling machinery at Site 1. Site 1.
Yes, I hear a lot from Ms. Lakshmi. Thank you so much. I think I caught one part about how Site 2 has reserved fishing zones. Is that right? Okay, I think as previously mentioned, there's climate change going on, and the ocean's conditions can be a bit unpredictable at some point. So at this point in time, perhaps
Yes, thank you so much for the reserved fishing zone. But we would also like to continue working with Connect on improving the safety by ensuring that we can predict the weather better. And I think my legal counsel has a clarifying question for Samudra as well.
Yes, so thank you, Godfrey. So I heard that there was this reserved fishing zones. Perhaps you can provide more details on that. And I also would like to summarize thus far. So our government of Samudra has been talking about the reserved fishing zones in Site 2. There will be scholarships coming from, 2 bond scholarships coming from Connect, as well as being able to work with the other Avon to work on technology that would improve be able to predict the weather conditions when it comes to fishing. Am I summarizing up these?
Yes, so that's a wonderful summary. And just to give you more clarity on these issues, we think it's imperative for us to be able to continue the culture that is so intimately linked to fishing for the people of the Means community. And therefore, the government consider that as a top priority today. And therefore, to advance these interests, we think that an amicable solution would be to sort of set up these exclusive fishing zones where you would have rights over that particular area. Obviously, the details of that can be ironed out later, specificity can be ironed out later, but we think that this would do great amounts in order to promote the interest in these people in terms of fishing. And we think, therefore, just bringing it back to the idea of compensation again, in light of various benefits that have been offered by both Connect and the government today, we think that there are a number that we're able to propose in light of the financial constraints as well that we are suffering in light of COVID pandemic, would be a compensation amount of $30,000 to be paid immediately, and also bearing costs of relocation, as well additionally constructing high quality and good quality housing services in the new relocated site to ensure that the people of the music community are provided for, also constructing schools, providing developmental projects as avenues for livelihood. We think in consideration of these various factors, the number we can propose to today is $13,000.
Just before that, I'm really sorry. Because a lot of issues have been discussing together, we understand technology is being discussed, compensation being discussed, housing and new offers. We would suggest with the guidance of Madam Mediator, if there could be any clarification of which issues to be discussed first, because we do have some clarifications required regarding the technology that the community needs. So I think a more organized manner would really help this discussion.
Yes, thank you for asking, and thank you for your offer. Also, I'm asking the government, because of your need and want for a positive outlook for your state, I'm enjoying what's happening here between these two, with the union of possibly employment and also the oil drilling site, excuse me, now being available, economic growth. Is that working for you?
I think that's a wonderful way to go ahead with inclusive development.
All right, okay. What comes to my mind first is the per person amount of monies. Does Connect want to add into the per person amount of monies for relocation at all? Is that anything in your interest? Because we've got 30,000 from the government per individual. We had 50 in the past, and 150 was asked for per person. So weigh in on that, please. Let's start there first.
Although we did not come into this mediation session with any plans per se to monetarily compensate the Hindu community, we did come up with a number of creative solutions that would ensure the livelihood is not affected. So as they mentioned that they need technology from Avon, wherein they can predict weather patterns and when it is dangerous to go out at sea. We do believe that we have the requisite technology. We possess the technology to predict what the weather patterns will be and when it is dangerous for the fishermen to go out on the high sea. And we would be willing to share the technology with the Mizo community. We would still be owners of that technology, but we would give it to you on a license. And perhaps you could use it to your advantage to further your livelihoods. You can take this technology and use it the way you see fit to promote your interests economically. Other than that, I think the scholarship aspect was how we discussed compensating them in a creative manner. And I think that was it. We did not think about actually monetarily giving compensation. However, in item 2 of the agenda, of course, we haven't reached there. We do discuss monetary compensation to the people affected by our forcible eviction.
Well, let's be clear, the tuition waivers is a monetary contribution, and we think the mediation table thanks you for that as well. So you weren't really particularly thinking about adding more per person, but with these technology advances for safety and the tuition waivers, that's a lot of, I'm gonna call it, the American skin in the game. So we think that's fine. Does that help?
So I don't think about the and the fishermen in the workers. I think that's also an added benefit that we want to provide.
And just to clarify, this is just an opening offer. We are open with your proposals from you as well in terms of compensation because we think it's of immediate and vital importance for us.
Definitely, I think we agree on the time sensitivity of this issue as well. Regarding, I'll take them in turns. First, I think Connect mentioned about employment of our men. I think the details have to be worked out again as always. But if you are talking about the employment of the men in the fishermen in the ocean, then I once again have to put that on hold until we can ensure safety, which can be worked out through our partnership of the prediction of weather forecast better. And regarding Samudra, I understand that what I'm hearing is a counter offer of 30,000 with the added benefits, including you bearing the cost of relocation as well as you mentioned constructing the schools, I hear. But previously, I also hear that you mentioned Site 2 has existing schools. So perhaps we can get more clarity on that in the next session, seeing as time is running out. So perhaps we can pass the time back to Madam Mediator.
Well, thank you for the movement at the mediation table today, and we have set ourselves up with bringing more information back to our second mediation, and that's where we are. So I'm going to be asking that you go ahead and you get some opinions. You understand better the safety that you want from Connect, and we have now on the table economic growth and the future that you were looking for as well. But we need that map from you that includes what is actually up there at Site 2.
Yes.
And so I'm going to be expecting that to come back. And Matt, thank you. You know, you've been put on hold a little bit. There's been much discussion. Thank you for your patience because you have a lot to do as well. And what you have now is free, potentially the access to the drone site where there won't be the horrific behaviors that happen that you said, oh my gosh, we can't believe this happened. So thank you everyone for this mediation. And we will now discuss with our second one. I'll be back next week.
Do we have some kind of closing remarks or that?
Well, it depends on our time. What do we have for time? We have 2 minutes left. We have 2 minutes left. Would you like to close?
Just to summarize and sort of bring everything back. I think it's important for us to be able to recognize that we've done a commendable job today in terms of being able to understand the concerns of people, understand truly what they really needed, and moving to questions of inclusive development. I know I've said this too many times today, but we think that it's a top priority for us. And we think that this new place, this new site that we propose is a step in the right direction for the people, futures the people of the community. We think that things like housing, schools, education, development are all benefits that are going to accrue to them in the best possible way in this new site, in this new beginning for the people of the community. And therefore, we're also grateful to Connect for their important contributions today in terms of providing scholarships, so on and so forth. And we think that we can work together to ensure that we have great leaps and bounds of growth for not only the people who use the community, but also more generally for the state of Tamil Nadu and for the people of.
Thank you. That was lovely. Appreciate it. Anyone else? I have a
So it's very happening that Connect and Samudra came forward with many different offers. And they seem to care about education as well as the healthcare and our livelihoods of the people at the music community. So thank you so much for being so honest and so sincere in your promises. And it's, for us, I think at the end of the day, would you like to share anything?
Yes, I think there are a lot of offers. Thank you so much for hearing the people out. As things stand, we go back into our own various homework as said by Madam Mediator. And as things stand, I would like to clarify again that there is no relocation as of now. And perhaps Connect.
Right. Just to confirm with that, we believe that we made great progress with the relocation, and no one could be happier than us to see both the parties coming through amicable needs for both, that both the needs are satisfied. And additionally, Of course, we try to discuss the amendments that have been made because we believe that that was a very immediate issue to be discussed. It's more than just commercial. People were hurt. And of course, we were ready to hear about it. So perhaps in the next session.
All right, well done. Move on to the next phase of this mediation.
Yeah, reflection. With 20 minutes, give the reflection.
20 minutes for what?
Reflection session.
Reflection session of 20 minutes.
So the question could be asked by the,
Questions are going to be asked by the judges?
yes, to the,
All right, so parties get ready for the judges to ask questions. Maybe again, when you're ready, take your time to find any questions about what you should be.
So good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations on a fantastic job. I think all of you all deserve a good round of applause for what you all have accomplished today. Hindsight is always 20/20. So with that, and at the time of reflection, the most common and obvious question, if you had to do this all over again, what would you do differently?
Can we begin?
Please.
Sure. So I think we would have prioritized our needs first. I think while setting the agenda, we saw that the other parties were much more in agreement regarding the relocation aspect. And that was something that was more important to the parties. And that's why we did agree to that, because making amends was something that was more important to us. And we could see that the parties wanted to discuss relocation first. We thought that we would have time to move on to the second item on the agenda, which was our concern. However, we could not do that. So we felt like we could have contributed more. We should have been more adamant about placing our needs first. Because in a two-party mediation, we already know that if there's one particular agenda, can deviate your negotiation strategies to make sure that certain time is allocated to agenda number 1 and agenda number 2 is also addressed. But here we were at the mercy of the other parties. We didn't know whether they were going to play hardball or whether they would negotiate and come to a conclusion on agenda number 1 so that we could move on to our agenda. So we would have prioritized our making amends first.
Just to add on to that, I think what I was to say by our needs is that we also understood that our need essentially in this mediation was to come at a settlement and make sure that the parties come at a settlement. So we did have that thinking when we agreed to the relocation, but however, we do agree that a little bit more time to discuss other later issues as well, because there was a lot more that we could have offered in that essence. And I think one of the major issues from our end also was regarding the tender amount. That was the negotiated deal. So I think because there was a lot of discussion in the relocation, we couldn't get to the other parts, so we could have offered more.
I think one of the things that we've done in another negotiation would be that you see that the offers are coming from Connect to us, some girls to us. So it's more like a flowing this way instead of it being a tri-party discussion. So maybe perhaps we would have included all 3 parties together in this discussion as well. And repackage the offers that they've been giving to us to link back to the point of the relocation, which is what our main concern is.
I think for me, it was about, that's what my partner mentioned about the relocation, and we tried halfway through to involve Connect more, but again, this engagement could have been done earlier and more, especially since this is we also had things to gain from them, which we eventually did about the technology, etc. So I think moving forward, in the event where we have a tripartite negotiation, perhaps a more inclusive discussion could have been made in terms of engaging everyone, while at the same time maintaining our position and interest and maximizing both parties for their resources to the best.
I think just echoing general sentiments on tripartite mediation. I think it is a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated, and therefore a lot of things get lost. Especially when offers and counter offers are given, at which point it becomes important to have structured targeted deals offered to specific parties. And I think in the quest to sort of involve different parties within a particular structured deal, so a couple of things get lost in that process, especially because of different questions that go around, different clarifications that are sought, offers, counter offers. And therefore, it becomes a little bit better to maybe have a conclusive structured deal that sort of is a yes or no from both parties, instead of having multiple smaller deals that sort of incorporate various interests to an extent. I'll just quickly add something.
Yeah, so in terms of just the deal, I think we would have preferred to have offered a more structured deal involving both parties at a much earlier stage, considering I think deal making started at around the 35th minute. 30th minute. So if you could have started that a bit earlier, we could have had more information gathered with respect to both issues. Since we were the government and we had to balance competing interests, I think bringing in more structured deal that would have not only retained connect with the hold of some of the players, but also fulfilling the needs of the music people. That would have resulted in a more fruitful, I think, outcome.
Thank you. All three teams and all these participants for your comments. This doesn't take away from an excellent job done in the
Okay, again, a friend and provider of this arranged to talk to the launch. So this is a really interesting question. What did you want when you did mediation and did you get it? So for more eloquently, what were your goals, strategies? And did that play out?
We did. I think it was
Yeah, so let's go to you.
I think coming in as the government becomes imperative for us to firstly re-establish goodwill, re-establish trust. These are intangibles that play a big role in any further mediation that happens. And therefore, the larger goal, although to strike a deal, I think the short term, or rather the more intangible goal, is to sort of build an environment of trust. Go ahead and secure some amount of buy-in from the Mizo community, get small commitments such as things like they're okay to relocate subject to conditions. I think these are small wins that we could secure throughout the way, although we did not get a conclusive deal at the end. But
just to talk about our goals and strategies, I think considering that we were the requesting party, we had to keep not only the music community but also connecting within the loop at all times. So in furtherance of that, all our solutions were sort of targeted towards involving all three parties in such a way that one party does not necessarily get left out.
I think for us coming into this mediation, the most important point was to renegotiate a new deal that was different from the previous one, and the new deal should encompass benefits relating to healthcare compensation, as well as being possibly evicted. At the same time, one of the most important things that was presented in our confidential information was that we needed to not be able to repeat a failure of the previous deal, and that we need to get the consent of the parties in our consent of the parties at the negotiation. If they were okay with us revealing the deal that was discussed today to the rest of our committee members.
Yeah, so on that note, I think because the bigger picture was we needed a new deal before we could agree to relocation. And our committee scattered a lot of other little conditions that we had to weave in as well. So we tried to weave that in. For example, we essentially couldn't agree to anything today. We had to consult our people before we could agree to something. And we wanted to put it in a very subtle way, such that yes, we do retain the authority to settle. We have the authority to settle, but we choose not to exercise that authority because we had to consult the people. So that was how we tried to weave in. We tried to weave in by telling everyone that, oh, you know, actually, I had asked my community before I can agree on any substantial points. Yes.
So coming into the session, we had a twofold goal. First of all, we wanted to talk a little about the oil tender itself, but we could not do that first. Secondly, and more importantly, our company needed to put out a reputation and build a brand name for itself in Rotterdam. And we could have done that firstly through making sure there were runs made to the Mizo community, and secondly, that there was some sort of understanding that we can enter into the market of Samudra Nation. So although we could not achieve the oil drilling tender, we did get some offers regarding concessions of the automobile industry. Since it's a conglomerate, we would be willing to, of course, that was kind of a partial goal achieved, that we could enter into the market and at least build a branding. Our second goal was, of course, to make amends. And even though we did not reach the agenda of making actual amends for the incident that occurred, the proposals that were made by the community was such that they accepted the scholarships, they accepted the technology. So at least it showed that there was collaboration between the parties. So even though we did not conclusively achieve our goals, we do feel that we made considerable inroads with regards to our goals.
And just to add on to that, we also realized that the position of connecting was quite tricky in this negotiation. We did not want it to overwhelming wherein both the parties are not be able to reach a deal and just put in every time or pitch in, because we do want to see how the parties will turn out and how the litigation pans out in itself. And we kind of just wanted to be there and see what could we incentivize each party to come out with a better deal. And of course, one of the major goals was to see that the agreement is made without the needs of the community being compromised, given the PR scandal that had happened already. And additionally, we see that reputation was another big thing for connecting. And I believe that even though we didn't discuss it exactly or literally, we did come up with various partnerships with the community and with education scholarships, etc., which would help connecting in their PR. And lastly, I believe that we did come out with the intention, as mentioned in the CI as well, put out these positives, which would have helped the RPI campaign. But I believe that these other certain things that we agreed to was a contribution to that as well. So,
Excellent, excellently conducted mediation proceedings, all of you, and thank you to the mediator as well. Just one question to all three of the parties over here. All of you represent very different interests: political, personal, financial. How did you address these conflicting interests while conducting this process, representing your client?
Okay. So of course, we had financial considerations, but we also recognized that we had reputation considerations as well. So we realized when the livelihoods of people are being talked about, and it's a discussion that prioritizes what happens to the livelihoods and the future of certain community, we felt that addressing and pushing for financial considerations would seem a bit insensitive. That is why when the discussion regarding relocation was going on, we came up with non-financial considerations and non-financial solutions that we could come up with. In that way, we prioritize our reputation first, so that we could offer scholarships, help them with their livelihoods, and also mend our reputation. We were hoping that once the relocation issue was solved, then we could talk about the financial considerations, because we did not want to prioritize it in face of such a grave and sensitive issue.
also, just again to add on to that, I think even though the legislation was financial in those terms, but I think what we understood from the problem was that those financial interests were interlinked with how they could handle politically also the government. So if they come to an it's automatically also have the financial needs and reputation and hold in the market. So I think because of the underlying issues that we discussed, those were our interests as well that were being discussed in probably an indirect manner.
I think from our end, firstly, we believe that the interest may be different, but we are not mutually exclusive. So that was also the reason why we put to the table, and we were willing to hear straight up. We told them that we are willing to relocate subject to certain conditions that we set for. So we came up and we straight away told them that our offer after interest gathering, of course, and then how we tried to reconcile was also the fact that we knew what we wanted. We didn't fix on it without hearing what the other parties have to offer, and we could resolve our concerns through engaging them as well in their resources, which is what we try to do by engaging in their technology and hearing what they have to propose. So no doubt there are different interests, and how we try to reconcile them was to give a listening ear and give propose creative options as well to engage everyone and have a different interest that we have to conduct this bigger picture.
Yeah, I guess I would say that relocation is the crux of is contingent on how whether the government if the Connect is able to go ahead with their own drilling project. So I think in a way we have linked the interest of both Connect and the government by talking about the relocation first. At the same time, for representing the Mizo community, the most important part is to safeguard the needs and the interests of the Mizo community and its people. And this is included in all the details of caring about their health care, caring about education, ensuring that they have enough compensation and they are treated rightly by the government. So this was something that we have brought across as our main primary concern and point in our interest and position as well.
And I think just again, echoing that sentiment, it's important for us in this mediation to approach it, understanding that these are not mutually exclusive positions, but also that they're extremely interlinked. In the sense that each position which is specifically political or specifically financial necessarily has underlying personal, underlying social, underlying economic objectives and economic motivations. And therefore, the key for us in this mediation was to be able to balance these underlying sort of interests and underlying motivations. And I think the way we tried to do that was to sort of sweeten the deal at every point of time, to sort of involve them in terms of figuring out firstly what they wanted in terms of these underlying motivations, but also how to reconcile these and how to bring both parties to be able to get these underlying motivations satisfied, and then moving to the larger political, larger financial, larger personal goals. I think that's the way we approach this as well, and we hopefully express that clear enough to be able to win elections soon as well. So, yeah, that's part.
Okay, so understandably, we heard you all talk about the challenges of the punishment of mediation. So I have a question now that to ask you to reflect on two things that might have changed the situation that happened. And one of them was to ask you to reflect on how you might have used the mediator, or how you used the mediator to assist you today. That's one question. And the second question is how you might have made use of things that were important to all of you. There was shared interest. One of those. It's a reflection on those three.
Right. So, insofar as using the mediator, I feel like we would have used the mediator more. There were certain places where my counsel asked mediator to summarize and to put forward what exactly the offers were, which did help a lot. But at the same time, we were struggling with time management. We were feeling that maybe we need to speak a little more, and that is why we couldn't really effectively use the mediator even though we wanted to. We wanted to call a caucus in the middle, but of course, looking at the positive of time, we prioritized putting our positions straight away instead of using the mediator more properly. Could you please repeat the second question?
The second question, the campaign was more important to all of those shared for those TV.
Right. So the shared interest especially for our party was that the relocation is an agreeable deal. Now we tried to do that, especially when Madam Mediator pointed out that there were certain conditions the Mizo community had. That these were the conditions we need to ensure livelihood is secure, our education is secure. I feel like at that point, we did do something right by incentivizing them, by telling them, oh, education is a priority, it's a condition, remove it as a condition. We will provide it to you regardless. So that shouldn't be a consideration while you're coming to relocate. So we tried to incentivize the party by removing these conditions, making sure that however we could contribute, we would like to incentivize the parties to come to a conclusion. That was the shared interest because we knew that once the relocation deal was done, we could then move on to our agenda.
Right. So most of what I was saying is already been said about it. And actually, just to like put it more clearly, I think that we did try to use the mediator in some way maybe could have come out a bit more strong to just ensure that the parties heard us as well, because we had a lot to offer and we wanted to offer. And we just hope that in a way we could have then made both the parties feel comfortable in what we were offering by using the mediator. And just talking about the shared interest, I believe that, of course, we have all spoken about the relocation, that is the shared interest in that. And I think that
us because it is, like, of course, we know for the government why it's important, we know for the community why it's important. But us also, because this was one of the biggest contracts we were going to get from the government, and we wanted to hold a position in the market. That was the shared interest. So, just to reiterate what my partner said, we do believe that that discussion was the shared interest that was discussed. However, our input could have been heard a bit more.
I think for us, in using the mediator, we'd actually called for a private caucus. I think that was very thoughtful. We actually have some confidential information I can actually review to both teams, and hence now we have to share it. It's the fact that we are not okay with the public statement because we actually need the media support, and at the same time, the people of the music community are losing interest in fishing. So when we called for the private caucus, mediator was able to help us reframe our understanding and our perspective, looking into these things, and that has helped us to generate different options that we proposed to connect, which was the partnership. And I think Mediator has helped us in looking at things in a different light. The focus was quite helpful in a way that previously we weren't so sure how to bring this in a more sensitive manner. I think it's also quite to our interest and against their interests. So perhaps it was we were able to reframe our answer and present something that was amicable to both of us.
I think for us, our shared interest was not so much about relocation. Our shared interest was about public image. Relocation is important to them, but to us, relocation is only important if you were able to tick certain boxes. So what we identified as a common shared interest that we could leverage on was public image, because both parties, being a political office holder and a conglomerate, will be very mindful of their public reputation. And for us, we will also want to leverage on media support to ensure that the deal is struck in a way that is favorable for us. So I would say that that was what we tried to leverage on, and we identified in our opening statement. Yes.
Very brief answer, because I know we're running out of time. I think on the first question of the use of the mediator, I think we could have used the mediator a little bit more smartly, I guess, to bring things back in terms of when the discussion became a little tangential in terms of a lot of information being thrown out, which is not necessarily the most relevant to the instant discussion at hand. I think bringing it back using Madam Mediator would have been able to streamline discussion a little bit better, simply because at some points it felt like there were parallel discussions going on that side of the table and on the side of the table. And I think maybe some clarity at that point of time would have really helped. And I think that's something that is a takeaway for me as well from this session.
I think moving to simply what our shared interest would be, I think our shared interest was simply the fact that everyone still stays in Samudra Desh with some amount of happiness and good. Because while it was imperative to protect the rights of the Mizo community, their rights to fishing, it was also imperative to guarantee them things on the lines of housing, education, jobs, etc. And for connecting the simple fact that the oil tender needed to go through. Otherwise, the monetary loss was caused to the state of Samudra Desh was simply too magnificent. So yeah, those were some of our questions.
I think our time's up. What's next for us?
We come back.
The judges are gonna take some time to judge. How long are they gonna be away, judging?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay. Thank you. Maybe I'll talk about the mediation. Whoa, I think I want to talk about it. So, going to the judges leave the room.
So from the standpoint of the apportionment time, which is the time somebody has the airwaves, a lot of focus and apportionment time was held here, which was valuable, which was showed real concern, like putting actions, words into actions. You did it, and we need to apportionment time. You came in with, hey, we're third party. I liked how you played your role. I very much so. And you did make concessions, you did make offers with the tuition waivers. So what happened? Purchase mediation came out very, first of all, you were like, this, we're third party, so you started the energy yourself, but then you played it out. It's perfect, actually. You were a soft presence at the table, even though it was your company that had to deal with the clash. You were not the two that broke with the deal. These guys with other regimes, that's why I asked at the beginning about that mediation meeting, like, are these people still important? Are these needs for you still important? And I thought you played it really, really well. And you just basically contributed where, so, sometimes in multi-parties, it's like, what can you accomplish? You accomplished. And so here you're now, because of this conversation, you have your oil fields available. That's huge. No one's camping. And because of the deal that's broken over here, these people are going to be able to talk to their people, which they were not stakeholders like they said they were. They did not have full power and authority to make decisions about consulting, by the way, right? So you had to be on hold, but your oil is available to us. So now that your field is available, now you can tender up with the government the set mediation. So I'm disagreeing with your comments about that's how I feel. With the miso community, there's application for everything that you wanted. Because you were bookended with people that cared about what you wanted. So it made your workplace easier. And then the private caucus was great because we're thinking like, no, we don't want to let them on the vote, but if you look at it from the other side, you didn't have to. Because you're saying when you have a partnership that you are, everything's okay now. That okay was okay. So when you, I didn't know what they were going to say. That, but they said, okay. So now we're okay with this, this public release. We're friends. And we're going to play well with each other in the sandbox, right? And the government, you guys are very official and you had high interest as well. You came in with this book and it basically apologies, right? And at the same time, you needed to be concerned about your economic development. So with that presentation, you made a relocation. Next time, it needs to have more information, like what's really there. So that document that you provided, if that had been fuller, you would have had a lot more of less questioning here, which would open up time for your relationship over here. So the documents we bring to the table as parties and mediators are really, really important. Like sometimes I mediate both in court and private practice. I get 45 pages of pre-mediation documents from counsel. And that's what you need. You need the details because then you show the map and you got all these little marks, what's all around there, and we save time. So, but you got what you wanted, got the economic growth potential of it that can be addressed in second mediation. So there you have it. And it opened up because of the location by the sea, by the coast, not inland 100 kilometers. So I just really thought that you all played very well, and the apportionment time is serious. So you have the airwaves a lot. So with apportionment, if it comes down to apportionment time and winning because of apportionment time, the apportionment time is stuck over here. So, but I love how you played it, and I love how you allow things to open up. And I was really wondering about that 30,000. Like, what happened? 50,000. Why do you go to 30,000? Which made me ask you, like, are you a volunteer per person as well to up this offer? But then you had the housing, then you had the services, which you recognize. So there was a lot of value exchange, and part of the reason that value was able to be exchanged was because you two remained fairly calm and peaceful, and not like that. It's not like you did that skin game. You just maintain your calm, peaceful composure, and then you pounce. I call it pounce with the opportunity to offer, and it was accepted. So I don't. There's some criticisms I don't really get. Thanks, Louise. You're welcome. So what happens next when the judge?
So once the jobs come back, is done with this, or if they wait a division be passed it. I don't know.
Begin the ceremony?
Yes, we go for that.
Let me know when you want to move. I have 10 minutes. But stroke is all done.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'll request everyone, including the participants, Kathleen, and everyone who's been spectating the rounds, please, can you please all move to the other conference room right in front of this room. Thank you, guys. The lunch is also ready to be served. You guys can have your lunch as well.